Hello students, welcome in today's lecture. We have started our topic morphology of flowering plants, and in this topic in our previous lecture we have seen the root part of the plants and we have just started the stem part of the plant. So we will revise some points of the previous lecture, that is we are now discussing the stem of the plant. So the definition of the stem is that it is the ascending part of the plant. It is the ascending part of the plant because root is the descending part while stem is the ascending part of the plant axis. Okay, so definition we have seen that stem is the, again I will repeat it, ascending part of plant. Okay, now we have also seen that there are some important characteristics of this stem part, that is these stems are always green in color when it is present in a young stage, but later on it becomes brown in color. So here we will see step by step the characteristics of the stem. So second point that we are now going to discuss is the characteristics. Okay, so first characteristics of the stem is that it has the branches. Okay, it bear the branches, and on that branches there will be flowers, fruits, leaves, etc. So stem bear the branches, and on that branches there will be flowers, fruits and leaves will be there. Second thing is that the stems are green in young stage of the plant and later on brown in color. When the stems, young one, it is green in color, but when the stems mature one become old one, at that time that stems color is brown in color. Third characteristics is that it has node and internode. Node and internode. All of you know that node is a point of the stem. Node is a region on the stem from which leaves arise, and the distance between two successive nodes is called as the internode. In our previous lecture we have seen that stem वर जिथं leaves तयार होते त्याला आपण म्हणतो नोड, आणि एका खाली एक जे दोन नोड आहे त्याच्यामधलं जे अंतर आहे, डिस्टन्स आहे, त्याला आपण काय म्हणतोय, इंटरनोड. सो दीज आर द characteristics of the stem, that it has node and the internode. Okay, now see here, these are the important characteristics of the stem. Now we have to also know the different functions of the stem, because in the root part we have seen the definition of the root, characteristics of the root and the functions of the root. Like that, here also we are going to discuss the definition of the stem, the characteristics of the stem, and there are some functions of the stem. One of the important characteristics is there of the stem is that it has terminal and axillary bud. Stem has terminal and axillary bud. This point is also we have discussed that when the bud is present at the apex or the tip of the stem, then we call it as a terminal bud, and when bud is present in the axil of the leaves, then we call it as a axillary bud. झाडाच्या किंवा प्लांटच्या टोकाला जर बड असेल, टिपला स्टेमच्या, तर त्याला आपण कोणता बड म्हणतोय, टर्मिनल बड. आणि लिव्हच्या आतमध्ये, लिव्हच्या कडेला जर तो बड असेल त्याला आपण काय म्हणतोय, ॲक्झिलरी बड. या सगळ्या प्रॉपर्टीज मी ऑलरेडी तुम्हाला आधीच्या लेक्चरला एक्सप्लेन केलेल्या आहेत. त्यामुळं यू कॅन इझिली अंडरस्टँड द डेफिनेशन अँड द कॅरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ द स्टेम. Now we will discuss the important functions of the stem. So here we will discuss which are the important functions of the stem, because when you are going to study stem in detail, you should know the definition, the characteristics and the functions of the stem. So here we will discuss the functions of the stem. So what are the functions of the stem? First function of the stem is that it spread the branches which has leaves, flower, fruits. So the branches of the stems can be spread by the stem part of the plant only. Stem वरचे ज्या काही ब्रांचेस आहेत त्या ब्रांचेस अशा सनलाईटला एक्सपोज झालेल्या आपल्याला पाहायला मिळतात, त्याचं स्प्रेडिंग पाहायला मिळतं. सो फर्स्ट फंक्शन ऑफ द स्टेम इज दॅट इट स्प्रेड्स ब्रांचेस. स्प्रेड्स म्हणजे पसरणे, बाजूला करणे. ओके, इट स्प्रेड्स ब्रांचेस विच बियर और विच हैज म्हणूया आपण, विच हैज लीव्स, फ्लावर्स, fruits, etc. Second function of the stem is that, no doubt we have seen that root part of the plant absorb water and minerals from the soil, and that absorb water and minerals from the soil are conducted to upper part of the plant by the stem. म्हणजे रूटने absorb केलेलं वॉटर आणि मिनरल जे आहे ते ग्राउंडच्या वर जे स्टेम आहे ते स्टेम सगळ्या आपल्या पार्टला टिपपर्यंत स्टेमच्या ते वॉटर आणि मिनरल सप्लाय करण्याचं काम करतं. सो द सेकंड फंक्शन ऑफ द स्टेम इज दॅट इट conduct the water and minerals as well as photosynthetic. Photosynthesis means in the process of photosynthesis plant prepare glucose, and that glucose is called as a photosynthetic. So glucose, which is the product of photosynthesis, water and minerals are conducted to the upper part of the stem by stem itself. So second function is conduction of water, minerals and photosynthetic. Photosynthetic means the product which is glucose prepared in the process of photosynthesis. Then the third function of the stem is that some plant has additional functions, or the stem of the some plants carry out the additional functions, and those functions are, it gives support, stem gives protection, it gives support, it gives protection, it stores food, and in some plant it acts as an organ of vegetative propagation. An organ of vegetative propagation. So see here, in some plant stem gives support to that plant, it gives protection to that plant, it acts as a storage of food. Mainly storage of food is the function of the stem which is present in the underground part of the soil. So जमिनीच्या आतमध्ये जे स्टेम असतं ते स्टेम कुठलं फंक्शन कॅरी करतं? स्टोरेज ऑफ फूड. An organ of vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation means it is a type of asexual reproduction. Means the vegetative part of the plant. Which are the vegetative part of the plant? Stem, root, leaves are the vegetative part of the plant. So these vegetative parts produce new young one like that of the parent is called as the vegetative propagation. What is meant by vegetative propagation? It is a type of asexual reproduction in which the part of the plant produce the new plant, and that process is called as the vegetative propagation. एक एक्झाम्पल सांगते म्हणजे तुम्हाला लक्षात येईल की व्हेजिटेटिव्ह प्रोपॅगेशन म्हणजे काय. रोज प्लांट, ज्याला मराठीमध्ये आपण गुलाबाचं झाड म्हणतो, रोज प्लांट जर तुम्हाला लावायचं असेल किंवा कल्टिवेट करायचं असेल तर आपण काय करतो? We cut the stem part of the rose plant which has the bud. बड असलेला स्टेमचा पार्ट आपण रोजचा कट करतो, तो जमिनीमध्ये लावतो आणि त्याच्यापासून आपल्याला नवीन रोज प्लांट आलेलं पाहायला मिळतं. सो दॅट स्टेम पार्ट ऑफ द रोज प्लांट इज कॉल्ड ॲज दी व्हेजिटेटिव्ह पार्ट अँड इट प्रोड्यूस the young one like that of the parents. So that process is called as the vegetative propagation. In detail we will discuss it later on, but you should know which are the major functions of the stem, that it spread its branches. आपल्या branches तो पसरतो की ज्या branches वर तुम्हाला leaves, flower आणि fruits पाहायला मिळतात. रूटनं जे काही वॉटर मिनरल्स कंडक्ट करून ठेवलेलं आहे स्टेमच्या बेसला, ते स्टेमच्या बेसकडून स्टेमच्या पूर्ण सगळ्या पार्टला वॉटर मिनरल्स आणि फोटोसिंथेसिसमध्ये तयार होणारं ग्लुकोज सप्लाय करण्याचं काम स्टेम करतं. इट हॅज ॲडिशनल फंक्शन लाईक इट गिव्स सपोर्ट टू द प्लांट, इट गिव्स प्रोटेक्शन टू द प्लांट. वेन स्टेम इज प्रेझेंट अंडरग्राउंड इट स्टोरेज द फूड ॲज वेल ॲज इट ऑल्सो ॲक्ट्स ॲज अ व्हेजिटेटिव्ह propagation. That means it also acts as a organ of asexual reproduction. Okay, so here you should know or you have to remember that definition of the stem, characteristics of the stem and the functions of the stem. Now here the very important part of the stem, which is very important for need point of view. Why I am repeating that very important? Because in the root part also we have seen the modification of root, that means tap root, fibrous root, adventitious root. We have also seen the examples of it, and here also one chart I have drawn on the board, and here the title is modification of stem, and here you can observe that there are mainly 4 type of modification you can observe, and in this also you have to remember different examples. Okay, so even though the theory part is very easy, but by the trick you have to remember the examples. So we will discuss first the theoretical part, and in our next lecture we will discuss about the trick of these examples. Okay, so here now focus on this chart where the name is given that modification of the stem. So students, just I have said that stem always not present on the ground part, because in our first lecture we have seen that in majority of the part of the plant, the aerial part or the above the ground part of the plant we call as a stem. Okay, and the underground part of the plant we call it as a root. But there are some plants where the stem is not present above the ground, but it is present below the ground. And here the first example is of the underground stem, which is present below the ground. And here the stem which is present below the ground has the main function, that is the storage of food. And that's why they are present underground part of the soil. Okay, so here the stem which is present underground has the function storage of food, and here there are about overall 5 examples are mentioned: potato, ginger, turmeric, zaminkan and colocasia. You have to remember all these 5 examples for the underground stem, which is mainly for the modification carried out for the storage of food. Which are these 5 examples? Potato, ginger, turmeric, zaminkan and colocasia. Second modification of the stem is the support. Some plants are very weak one. They have not very strong stem, and in that plant the stem gives support to that plant. And why it gives support to the plant? Because with that support, so in Marathi we call as a वेल. काही प्लांटचे तुम्हाला वेल पाहायला मिळतात. काकडीचा वेल, भोपळ्याचा वेल, द्राक्षाचा वेल पाहायला मिळतो आपल्याला. त्याचबरोबर आपण म्हणतो कलिंगडाचा वेल असतो. तर हा वेल म्हणजे काय आहे? इट इज अ स्टेम. सो वेलला काय म्हणायचं? स्टेम टेंड्रिल. तर काही प्लांटमध्ये स्टेम काय करते त्या प्लांटला सपोर्ट देते. कशा प्रकारचा सपोर्ट? बाय दॅट सपोर्ट दॅट प्लांट क्लाइंब. कारण आपण एखादा वेल ऑब्झर्व केला तर आपण काय बघतो पहा, तो वेल आपण आपल्या घराच्या खिडकीला किंवा एखाद्या काठीला असं गुंडळून ठेवतो की ज्याच्यामुळं तो वेलची वाढ होते आणि ते वेल असं हळूहळू वर सरकत जातो. वर सरकणे म्हणजेच आपण त्याला म्हणू शकतो क्लाइंबिंग. So for support for climbing, some stems are there. That stem mainly called as stem tendril. And here the examples are given. गोड म्हणजे भोपळा असं जनरली आपण समजू घ्या. पण इथं असं लक्षात ठेवा की कुकुंबर काकडी, पंपकिन भोपळा, वॉटरमेलॉन कलिंगड आणि ग्रेप वाईन द्राक्षे ह्या सगळ्यांना एकत्रित आपण काय म्हणलेलं आहे? गोड. Isn't it? So here these stems, for support mechanism of the stem, we have to remember the examples: cucumber, pumpkin, watermelon, grapevine and the thorn. And now the last part of the modification of the stem is some stems of some plants modify for the photosynthesis. So here you can observe that the main organ of the photosynthesis in the plant is the leaves, but here in some plants leaves are fall off in the early stages or leaves are converted into spine, and in that plant the function of the photosynthesis is carried out by the stem. And here two examples are given. One is called as Apuntia. Another name of Apuntia is a cactus plant, and second one is called as Euphorbia. Euphorbia is one of the plant which is also called as an ornamental plant, and one modification is remain there, that is for protection. Some stems are modified to give the protection to the plant, because you can observe on the some stem there is a thorn. काटे पाहायला मिळतात आणि काय होतं, हे काटे त्या स्टेमवर असल्यामुळे कुठलेही चरणारे ॲनिमल्स, गाई म्हैशी किंवा इतर ॲनिमल्स त्या प्लांटला खाऊ शकत नाहीत. सो टू प्रिव्हेंट फ्रॉम द ब्राउझिंग ॲनिमल म्हणजेच ग्रेझिंग ॲनिमल, हिअर स्टेम्स आर मॉडिफाईड अँड दॅट्स आर कॉल्ड ॲज दी मॉडिफिकेशन फॉर द थॉर्न. We'll discuss in detail all this modification of the stem, but students again remember here that you have to remember the examples. How? For example, for storage of food, these examples. For the support of the plant, of the stem, these stem tendrils example. For protection to the plant, these two examples. One is called as citrus and other one is called as a bougainville. सिट्रस म्हणजे लिंबूसारखं एक फळ असतं, लेमनसारखं, आणि बोगनवेल म्हणजे तुम्ही पाहिलं असेल ज्याला कागदी गुलाबी फुलं असतात. आपण हायवेला रोडवरला बघितलं तर रोडच्या मध्ये जो डिवायडर असतो त्या डिवायडरच्या इथं सुद्धा हे पिंक कलरचे, डार्क पिंक कलरचे कागदी फुलं असणार जे झाड असतं त्याला माहिती बोगनवेल. त्याच्याजवळ गेला तर तुम्हाला त्याच्यावर काटे पाहायला मिळतील. दॅट प्लांट इज ऑल्सो एक्झाम्पल फॉर द स्टेम फॉर द प्रोटेक्शन. आणि फोटोसिंथेसिस स्टेम ज्यामध्ये कॅरी करतं त्याची दोन एक्झाम्पल आहेत, आपुन्शिया आणि इपोर्बिया. ऑल दिस पार्ट नाउ विल डिस्कस इन डिटेल. सो विल सी फर्स्ट पॉइंट, दॅट इज देअर आर सम स्टेम्स विच आर अंडरग्राउंड present below the soil, and these stems are modified for the storage of food. Like in a root, if you remember that in the root we have seen that the carrot, radish, then we have seen the plants like beet, another name is turnip. All these or sweet potato, asparagus, these are the examples of the root. They store the food in their body and that's why they become swollen one. Okay, like that here all of you know the example of the potato. Okay, you can observe that suppose this is the example of the potato, and on this potato, or keep in mind this potato is an example of the stem which is the underground stem. It stores food, that's why it becomes swollen one. Second example is given, that is the ginger. Ginger मराठीमध्ये त्याला आपण म्हणतो आलं, बरोबर आहे की नाही. तर तुम्हाला सगळ्यांना माहिती आहे, आपण आलं सगळ्यांना ऑब्झर्व करता येतं. आल्याचं स्ट्रक्चर असं पाहिलं आपण तर दिस इज अ जिंजर. ओके, अँड ऑन दिस जिंजर you can observe such a lines. If we observe it very clearly, then you can see that there are lines on this ginger. So this ginger is the underground stem part. Next one is a turmeric, ज्याला मराठीमध्ये आपण हळकुंड म्हणतो, ज्यापासून हळद तयार केलं ते टर्मरिक पावडर तयार केलं ते. हे हळकुंड सुद्धा तुम्हाला असंच कॅटेगरीचं पाहायला मिळतं आणि दिस इज कॉल्ड ॲज दी टर्मरिक. So 3 well-known example, all of you know that: potato, then ginger and the turmeric. So keep in mind, these are the 3 examples of the underground stem. They swollen due to the storage of food. But 2 more examples are there whose Marathi name is not known. One is called as Zaminkan and another one is called as a colocasia. If you observe Zaminkan, it looks like same like that of the ginger and the turmeric. Ginger and turmeric सारखं जर तुम्ही ह्याच्या गुगलवर इमेज बघितल्या तर झामिनकन पाहायला मिळतं आणि कोलोकॅसिया हे त्याच टाईपमधलं स्ट्रक्चर पाहायला मिळतं. पण मग ह्याची 2 मराठी नावं माहीत नाहीत म्हणून आपण हे लक्षात ठेवायचं नाही असं नाही. तर तुम्हाला लक्षात आलं पाहिजे झामिनकन, कोलोकॅसिया, पोटॅटो, जिंजर अँड टर्मरिक. These are the 5 examples given under the title storage of food, which is the underground stem. Okay, these are the underground stem which is for the storage of food. And see here you have to also remember that they are not only the organ of storage of food, but one more additional function is carried out by the stem, and they are the organ of perination. They are the organ of perination. So what is mean by perination? So perination is the ability of the plant to tide over the unfavorable condition. म्हणजे एखादी पोषक वातावरण नसेल, सुटेबल वातावरण नसेल, तर अशा सुटेबल वातावरण नसताना सुद्धा त्या ठिकाणी व्यवस्थित ग्रो होण्याची जी प्लांटची प्रॉपर्टी आहे दॅट इज कॉल्ड ॲज अ ऑर्गन ऑफ पेरिनेशन. म्हणजे अशा अनफेवरेबल कंडिशनमध्ये सुद्धा ते प्लांट ग्रो होऊ शकतं. दॅट इज कॉल्ड ॲज पेरिनेशन प्रॉपर्टी. सो हिअर these 5 plants not only carry out the function of the storage of food, but also they acts as a organ of perination. Means under unfavorable condition they remain as it is in the soil. They do not disintegrate or decompose there, and when favorable condition again comes, they grow above the soil in the form of the leaf or in the form of the some part of the shoot. म्हणजे फेवरेबल कंडिशन आली की लगेच त्याला पालवी फुटते, त्याला लीव्ज येतात आणि हे लीव्ज तुम्हाला जमिनीच्या वर आलेले पाहायला मिळतात. सो इम्पॉर्टंट फंक्शन ऑफ दिस 5 example is that storage of food as well as the organ of perination, and they are always underground. नोट्स मध्ये व्यवस्थित मी हे तुम्हाला लिहून दिलेलं आहे. सेकंड वन, some plants whose stems is very thin one. What happened there? So here just now we have seen that on the stem there are 2 buds. One is called as a terminal bud and other one is called as the axillary bud. So suppose this is the leaves, okay, and on the axil of the leaves there is one bud and the name of that bud is called as the axillary bud. Okay, so here you have to remember that the important thing is that the stem who shows the tendril, ज्या स्टेमला वेल आलेला आहे, हा वेल जो आहे ज्याला टेंड्रिल म्हणतो आपण, स्टेम टेंड्रिल म्हणजे झाडाचा वेल, की हा वेल कुठून तयार होतो, तर दिस टेंड्रिल डेव्हलप्स फ्रॉम द ॲक्झिलरी बड. सो सी हिअर दिस ॲक्झिलरी बड मॉडिफाईड अँड देर विल बी डेव्हलपमेंट ऑफ दिस स्टेम टेंड्रिल. Okay, so for need point of view it is very important that you have to remember from which part of the stem tendril develop. It is developed from this axillary bud. So stem tendril is nothing but it is a modification of the axillary bud, and this stem tendril is mainly important for climbing of the plant. क्लाइम्बिंग म्हणजे मी मगाशीच अर्थ सांगितला तुम्हाला. वेल तुम्ही एखाद्या एखाद्या खिडकीच्या एखाद्या खिळ्याला किंवा एखाद्या बांबूची काठी असेल त्याला किंवा अजून एखादा कुठला जर सपोर्ट असेल त्याला जर तुम्ही वेल अडकून ठेवला तर तो वेल हळूहळू वर ग्रो होतो. वर ग्रो होणं म्हणजेच क्लाइम्ब होणं, त्यामुळे ते लिहिले आपण क्लाइम्बिंग. आणि हा वेल स्टेम टेंड्रिल त्या प्लांटला सपोर्ट करतो. जर आपण सपोर्ट नाही झाला तर ते प्लांट डाय झालं असतं. त्यामुळे त्या प्लांटला सपोर्ट करणं इज द फंक्शन ऑफ द स्टेम टेंड्रिल. अँड हिअर अगेन यू हॅव टू रिमेंबर ओव्हरऑल दी 4 एक्झाम्पल्स: ककुंबर, पंपकिन, वॉटरमेलॉन अँड ग्रेप वाईन. काकडी, भोपळा, काय म्हणतो आपण ह्याला, कलिंगड आणि द्राक्षाचा वेल, ह्या सगळ्यांना एकत्रित आपण काय म्हणतो, गोड. आणि या गोडची कॅरेक्टरिस्टिक्स आहे स्टेम टेंडेल. हिअर यू हॅव टू रिमेंबर दॅट स्टेम टेंडेल मॉडिफाईज फ्रॉम द ॲक्झिलरी बर्ड ऑफ द स्टेम. नाव द नेक्स्ट मॉडिफिकेशन ऑफ द स्टेम इज the protection. So students, see here, protection. Now just we have seen that from the axillary word the tendril arise, that we have given the name stem tendril. So again the same thing you have to remember, that thorn. What is a thorn? This thorn is a very straight one. It is a woody part, it is a hard part. कुठलाही झाडाचा जर तुम्ही काटा बघितला, थॉर्न बघितला, तर तो असा कठीण असतो, उडी असतो, बरोबर आहे, स्ट्रेट असतो. आणि तो कसा पाहायला मिळतो आपल्याला, इट इज अ पॉइंटेड वन. काटा म्हणलं की कसं असणार आहे, पॉइंटेड. सो दिस थॉर्न विच इज अ मॉडिफिकेशन ऑफ द स्टेम विच आर प्रेझेंट ऑन द स्टेम, इट इज अल्सो अ मॉडिफिकेशन ऑफ दिस ॲक्झिलरी बर्ड लाईक द स्टेम टेंड्रिल. सो इफ we observe the diagram of the stem, this is the axillary bud which is present on the axil of the leaves. So this is the axillary bud. So this axillary bud modifies into a hard pointed structure, and that is called as the thorn. So here again you have to remember that the thorn which is a modification of the stem, it is a modification of the axillary bud. Stem tendril, it is also modification of the axillary bud. And this thorn is a straight one, it is a woody part, and it is a pointed part. So why the thorns are present on the stem? Why the thorns are present on the stem? These thorns are present on the stem particularly to give the protection to that plant from the browsing animal. Browsing means the grazing animal like cattle. Then there are number of animals. Wild animals are also there in the forest, like that deer or buffalo. So these grazing animal or the browsing animals cannot damage that plant due to presence of this thorn. So protection is the main function of this thorn to the plant. And here you can observe two examples, citrus plant and the bougainvillea. Just now I have told you that citrus is a plant like the lemon सारखं फ्रूट असणारं सिट्रस आहे. आणि बोगनवेल म्हणजे कागदी गुलाबी फुलं तुम्हाला त्याचे पाहायला मिळतात, की जनरली डिवायडरच्या मध्ये तुम्हाला हे रस्त्यावर पाहायला मिळतात. ऑर्नामेंटल प्लांट सुद्धा आपण ह्याला म्हणू शकतो, दॅट इज कॉल्ड ॲज अ बोगनवेल. अँड द लास्ट मॉडिफिकेशन ऑफ द स्टेम इज फॉर द photosynthesis. So students, number of time we have discussed that photosynthesis is the vital process in the plant. In the process of photosynthesis, light, carbon dioxide, water, this raw material is used, as well as in the plant which are green in color, which has the chlorophyll pigment, those plants carry out the photosynthesis. So in the process of photosynthesis, glucose, it is the example of carbohydrate, can be synthesized, okay, and due to which we can classify the plants as the isotropic. So here this photosynthesis process is very important for survival of the plant. But the major organ of this photosynthesis is the leaves. Okay, leaves carry out the photosynthesis. But when in any plant leaves get fall off or leaves get converted into the spine, at that time the function of the leaves is carried out by the stem, and such a condition is always present in these two plants. One plant is called as apuntia. Another name of the apuntia is a cactus plant, and another example is the euphorbia. Euphorbia do not have the Marathi name, but it is one of the ornamental plant. If you are interested, you can observe the image of this euphorbia plant on the internet. But see here, the apuntia and euphorbia, these two examples you have to remember under the title photosynthesis. So all of you know the diagram of the apuntia, or we can call it the cactus. Okay, so see here, if we see, these are the this is the diagram of the apuntia. So this part that you can observe, these are the spine, but spines are nothing but actually the leaves of that plant. So these spines are called as the leaves of that aposia plant. As leaves are modified into spine, the function of the leaves are carried out by the stem. त्यामुळे आपल्याला हे जे काही फ्लॅट ग्रीन कलरचं स्ट्रक्चर दिसते, दिस इज नथिंग बट द स्टेम. आपल्याला वाटते त्याचे लीव्ज आहेत, पण त्याचे लीव्ज नाही आहेत. ॲक्च्युली लीव्ज कुठले आहेत, तर लीव्जचं कन्वर्शन स्पाईनमध्ये झालेलं आहे. आणि जो ग्रीन फ्लॅट स्ट्रक्चर तुम्हाला पाहायला मिळतं, दॅट इज कॉल एज अ स्टेम. इट कंटेन क्लोरोफिल पिगमेंट, इट इज फ्लॅट स्ट्रक्चर अँड इट कॅरी आउट दी फोटोसिंथेसिस. म्हणून जे स्ट्रक्चर दिसतं ते स्टेम आहे, फ्लॅट आहे, लीव्हसारखं एक्सपांड झालेलं आहे, सरफेस एरिया वाढलेला पाहायला मिळतो अँड इट कॅरी आउट द फंक्शन ऑफ फोटोसिंथेसिस. सेम लाईक दॅट ऑफ द इफोर्बिया प्लांट. इफोर्बिया इज cylindrical plant and it also contains the chlorophyll pigment and it also carry out the function that is the photosynthesis. Here student, you have to not remember the diagram because these diagrams are known to you, but you have to remember the examples. So see here again, I will revise this chart. Modification of stem, there are overall 4 modifications we have discussed today. One modification first is for storage of food. It is found in the underground stem and the examples of it are potato, ginger, turmeric, zaminican and the colocasia. Second example of the modification of the stem is for the support for the climbing purpose, and here you can observe the example like the watermelon, cucumber, pumpkin, grapevine, as well as here we have seen these 4 examples in the support. Third example of the stem modification is the protection. Example is mainly on the thorn, and here you can observe 2 examples are written on the board. One is called as citrus and another one is called as the bougainville. And the last modification of the stem for the photosynthesis, here 2 examples are given, flat structured apuntia and cylindrical structured euphorbia. So here you have to remember these examples only because these are from the NCERT book. For need point of view, no extra example is asked. Only you have to remember this much part of the stem. So students, here we have completed the some part of the stem, that is the modification of the stem. In the next lecture we will also discuss another modifications of the stem. Thank you.